live in a very strange world where Australia's very own Sex Discrimination Commissioner does not know the difference between a man and a woman.
Lesbians, trans women, non-binary, there are a range of people who identify as women who are women.
Did you mean that biological males can be women?
Men. So I think that we have different language that perhaps you're using than I would use. So I don't understand the term biological men.
Oh dear. Well, Anna Cody is paid $400,000 a year to tell us that she doesn't know what a biological man is. Now, I asked Anna Cody onto my show tonight. She declined. In a statement, a spokesperson said the Commissioner advocates extensively for the safety of women and children. Well, if she is such an advocate, why not come on the show and tell us? Well, is it because she knows that maybe her arguments don't actually stack up? Earlier, I spoke to Liberal Senator Claire Chandler, who asked brilliant questions in Senate estimates this week, and started by asking her how a woman whose job it is to protect women's rights doesn't know the very definition.
Well, I don't think it makes sense at all. I mean, like you say, our Sex Discrimination Commissioner doesn't understand what biological sex is, and she doesn't understand the rights that should reasonably attach to that. Women's sex-based rights, the rights to single-sex services and spaces that I've been advocating for many, many years now. So I think we kind of need to reframe that question. I mean, the reality is here we have a Sex Discrimination Commissioner who doesn't actually defend women's rights at all.
No, look, she doesn't. And well done to you on your excellent questioning in Senate estimates this week. What a shame that you couldn't actually get the answers to such simple questions. I did, for the record, ask the Commissioner on my show today. She declined, but in a statement said that the Commissioner advocates extensively for the safety of women and children. I mean, if she's such an advocate, then, well, I would expect that she should come and do some media interviews, come on the show. But, Senator, you also asked Anna Cody about a biological male prisoner who raped his own child and is now being held in a women's prison. This was the response.
Do you consider that this man, who is a child sex offender, is a woman?
The Sex Discrimination Act includes trans women within it. So the person who I believe you're referring to is a trans woman.
Well, I mean, I'd ask the question, Senator, is that advocating extensively for the rights of women and children?
Absolutely, it's not. And I think that very much goes to the point that you were talking about earlier, that when we conflate these terms and pretend that woman means anything other than an adult human female, that's where we find ourselves in the situation that we're currently in, where our Sex Discrimination Commissioner can't actually advocate for the protection of women's sports, women's services, women's spaces like women's prisons, where you see people like Sal Grover being dragged through courts of law in this country for offering a women's single-sex space, and indeed, like the example that we've seen in Victoria, where female prison inmates are being subjected to a dangerous male sex offender because that male's decided to identify into their prison. We need more clear-cut rules here, and I think it's incredibly disappointing that the Sex Discrimination Commissioner, who, like you say, is on a salary of more than $400,000 a year, can't bring herself at Senate estimates to defend the rights of Australian women and girls.
And I want to just ask you on the point that she made in relation to the Sex Discrimination Act. She says that it contains the term trans women. From your knowledge of it, does it indeed talk about trans women?
No, I don't think the Sex Discrimination Act does talk about trans women. What the Sex Discrimination Act does do, though, is include gender and gender identity as protected attributes alongside biological sex. Now, this has only been the case for the last 12 years since the Gillard government amended the Sex Discrimination Act back in 2013. And again, that's where we've seen this complete conflation of language, and activists have been able to take advantage of that conflation to start saying that the Act means things things that it was never intended to do. The reality is the Sex Discrimination Act was designed to ensure that women, biological females, had certain rights, and that's a very good thing. But the Act has since been misinterpreted and amended by the Gillard government and completely butchered to the point where it's arguably meaningless, and I think actually endangers the rights of women and girls in Australia.
Well, I mean, I just think it's just erased women, because if it's removed the definitions of sex, man and a woman, then how can you know what a woman is in this very country? I mean, as a woman myself and you, it is exasperating to even have this argument week in, week out. And I want to ask you, Senator, how far behind we are compared to the rest of the world. We can't define it. At least the UK has moved to define it. America has done the same thing. And here in Australia, it's not even in our laws.
It's one of my greatest disappointments in my 5 or 6 years of being at the forefront of this debate that Australia hasn't moved alongside other countries, like you say, the United Kingdom, the United States, to backtrack on some of this ideology that's encroached into this space around sex discrimination and women's sex-based rights. And I think there are many different reasons behind that. One of the reasons is, frankly, that most of the media outlets in this country refuse to give this issue any interest. I mean, you look at the Victorian prison case that we mentioned earlier, that had very little media reporting outside Sky News and the Australian Masthead and the Herald Sun. I don't think it was covered on the ABC, perhaps not surprisingly. So we really need the media to start sitting up and paying attention to this, because this issue is not going away. And frankly, I think politicians at all levels of government in this country need to be courageous and fearless in speaking out about these issues.
And the thing is, it shouldn't even be a controversial issue to begin with. It's just, simple biology. But look, you're right about the media. I mean, the ABC certainly weren't interested in the Giggle versus Tickle appeal a couple of months ago either. So that is definitely half the problem. Senator Claire Chandler, great to catch up with you. Thanks so much for joining me on the show this evening.
Authorised by Claire Chandler, Liberal Party, Richmond.